Oh, well, this can be our.
Hey, Izzy girl. Hey, Izzy. What are you doing? Izzy, what you doing?
Making some
What
more
you doing,
views,
pretty
Izzy.
girl? What you doing?
All right, Izzy, you got any thoughts on the Georgia Ole Miss game? All right, great insight. Oh,
That's pretty good.
all right. So we are obviously live. Let's get into the Georgia Ole Miss game before we recap the Georgia Tennessee game. I know a lot of people probably want to get into the Georgia Tennessee game. So initial thoughts on the Ole Miss game. Uh, yeah, general ideas, thoughts.
Um, I think probably obviously the best that Georgia's looked since Kentucky. But they've, in all honesty,
Well,
they've been playing better ever since that Kentucky game.
yeah,
Offense, it's nice to get everybody starting to get healthy. 100%. I think it makes a big difference. Even when Brock Bowers only catches 3 passes, right there, it's significant because it opens up. You saw Dominic have a big game. I think Rara got banged. I don't know this for a fact, but I think he got banged up after he started off hot. He came
yeah.
off favoring his shoulder, but overall offense looked really good. Beck, there was guys wide open though, but he is really solid. Is in complete command. One of the things I mentioned to you during the game is right before halftime, and we had all 3 of our timeouts remaining, and it was taking a long time to get the play call in, and we weren't calling timeout, and it was just for a brief second, but you could see Beck turn to the sideline, and I'll paraphrase, but he said, "What the hell are we doing?" He's like, "Come
Right.
on!" And he was getting on the coaches and on the sideline for not getting the plays in and having a plan. So it just gave me an indication of how much in command he is of the offense. Defensively, I don't know what it is about the first drive, and if it's nerves, if it's us playing to see how they're going to try to attack us and then making in-game adjustments. I'm not smart enough to know that, but
Either.
outside of early on, um, we talked about this. You said the turning point of the game was whenever Jackson Dart threw the interception.
Yeah.
I really think the turning point of the game is the first sack we got against Jackson Dart. I really do. The whole momentum of the game started switching, and even though they got that 4th down on that fake punt, it didn't really hurt us that much. So defensively tightened up. I thought defensive backs did good. I thought obviously we controlled both
Up
lines,
one.
and kicking game. Yeah, I mean Woodring doing great. I have no complaints on the overall on the special team. So good performance. Let's hope we can continue it on going into Tennessee.
Yeah, I think this was probably the best game that Georgia's played, top to bottom, the entire year. I think that was their best game. Um, I think it could be better. That's a scary thing about this team. They could really play a lot better. I thought offensively, I don't think you could play much better. There's somebody on Ole Miss told a Georgia guy that they did not touch Carson Beck once, not once, not even put a hand on him, a finger on him. Nobody touched him.
Wow.
So that's that makes a really easy day whenever you don't, the opposing team doesn't do that. So I thought we did well. I thought honestly, and I said it on the first drive, I think, or the second. I don't know. I can't remember, but the way that Georgia was running the ball, I just knew they couldn't beat us. You're not going to beat a Kirby Smart team if you can't stop the run. It's just not going to happen.
It felt like it was going to be a barn burner for the first
The first quarter for
Yeah.
sure. Then second quarter we figured it out. I don't know. Like you said, I don't know what it is about first drives. I think it's more them trying to figure it out and fill the game out. they've got to do a better job, especially give Neyland this upcoming game. You give them a first touchdown.
Starts rocking, they start believing.
Yeah, it'll be tougher, but we'll get to that later. But that has and I gotta tell you, this is probably the best offense Georgia's gonna face. If they make it to the playoffs, probably the best one that they'll face.
Tennessee's or Ole
Miss's.
Okay, all right, sorry.
Yeah, Ole Miss has got a really good quarterback. They got a really good running back. They have a decent offensive line. I know they were banged up, but the good offensive line. And they have really talented wideouts. I thought we did a really good job handling it. I think Jackson Dart only had 172 yards, and I know on the stat sheet it'll say Ole Miss ran for 175 yards. That was mostly in garbage time. The game was already out of reach, and I think they I know Judkins ended up with 75 yards on 22 carries. Right. So the game was already out of reach. They didn't get it was probably 75 yards that they got. So, but people like to watch box scores rather than the actual games. I got to tell you, I like Julian Humphrey. I don't Julian Humphrey. Anyway, Humphrey. I don't know if he's going to play this week. That was a pretty big. Kind of keep your eye out on that. I think he's a lot better than number 6, and I'm not going to call his name out, but I'm not a big fan of him. You got to tackle. He cannot tackle. That Judkins touchdown could have been stopped if he would have just instead of arm tackling him and actually tackled him and wrapped up.
I'm not as hard on him as you are. I think
it's the giving up and the way he doesn't look for the ball. He's a very aggravating, and I know he's a freshman. Someone who was like Eric Stokes drove me nuts his first year starting. Drove me absolutely insane. So, I have been wrong about this type of thing. But Eric Stokes could also tackle. So we might want to work on that. But overall, it was really good. I got to tell you, CJ Allen, ball player. And I think, honestly, that's why Ole Miss couldn't do the outside run.
He's athletic, man.
He's quick, man, and he's smart.
Yeah, I agree. He was impressive.
So I think that Georgia played well. Obviously, there's rooms for improvement. I think this is the number 1 team. I think Georgia's probably they're not favored to win the national championship, but they're only 20 points or whatever you would call it off. So
that means, but okay.
So Michigan's 225 and Georgia's plus 200. So we're like 20, 25 behind them. So we'll see going into this week what happens.
What are the odds of Michigan if they do win it? They have to vacate it.
Like plus 1,000 gazillion. Which I think this is a complete farce. But whatever, we'll get into that maybe another time if Georgia plays Michigan. Going into that,
I said, God, I hope so.
Me too. Going into that,
they ran the ball 36 times and never passed it again. I mean, what is that? They set football back 40 years, man.
Yeah, they're not.
Anyway, I know I'm digressing, but anyway,
they're just not a good football team. They're not national. They're good. They're not a national championship winning team, and everyone's in love with them because they're Michigan. So whatever. The 2 best teams. Let's have a moment of truth. The 2 best teams in college football are Georgia and Alabama.
Yes, SEC champion is going to be not only SEC championship. I think it's going to be the national championship.
I do too.
And I think, unfortunately, either loser of that's not going to get in.
It depends, in my opinion. If Georgia doesn't lose this game, which they shouldn't, and we'll talk about that in a minute. If Georgia loses against Alabama, I think Georgia probably gets in. If it's a 3-point game or a touchdown game, you're going to penalize Georgia for playing an extra game where Ohio State or Michigan sitting on their ass. Oh, fuck, that's so fucking stupid. We're in 5 minutes. I can cuss. That's fucking retarded. I mean, sorry. That is. If if Georgia loses by a possession and they're not in the playoff and they've been the best team and they're back-to-back national champions, that would be the most ridiculous thing ever. That's the biggest crock of shit ever.
Well, here's the good news. Win, and you don't have to worry about it. In the famous words of Al Davis, just win, baby. I mean, but I get really nervous leaving this up to some sort of committee and all these machinations that I'm unaware of behind a closed door, and you don't know what they're thinking. And
yeah, well, I don't know how Georgia wasn't the number one team from the very jump of it, but whatever. I mean, it's like Notre Dame's win or Ohio State's win over Notre Dame's not really all that impressive. It's just not. Notre Dame's not that good, and they had fucking 10 guys on the field for Ohio State to win. So congratulations. And Penn State's not that good.
Well, Michigan or Ohio State were all that impressive this week. So that's the reason Georgia jumped, right? But they're not. I agree
look good
as athletically, speed wise. I just don't think they're the teams that Georgia and Alabama are. I just don't.
No.
Honestly, I mean this sincerely. You give me Missouri and Michigan on
I might take Missouri
on a neutral field.
Yeah,
and Jim Harbaugh on the sideline. I feel really good about it because the first 4th and 2 he gets on his own 20 in the first quarter. He's going to go for it. So.
Well, yeah, no, and I agree. And then here's another thing that I like. It kind of boggles my mind. The Big Ten, like I think top 5 in defense, and the Big Ten's also top 5 in the country. Which is, I mean, that's just not possible. It just tells you that the offenses are really bad in the Big Ten.
Right. Yeah.
And everyone's sitting there going, "Oh wow, look at all these defenses! These are like really good defenses." No, it's not, guys. You just haven't watched the game.
Not really good offense.
Yeah. It's bad. Anyway, all right. Well, let's get into the Tennessee game. Georgia, I think the line keeps going up and down. It goes to 10, it goes to 10.5, it goes to 11, goes to 11.5.
I saw it's been pretty consistent around 10.5 though, hasn't it?
I mean, yeah, but it flip-flops. I think the public money is on so it's Georgia 10. I think the public money though is on Tennessee covering, which is kind of interesting, and the sharp money's on Georgia covering. Which usually tells you that the sharps are right and the public are dummies, but whatever. It's in Neyland, 3:30 kickoff. This is the last regular season game that will be broadcasted on CBS that Georgia plays. So
Bye, Gary.
Bye, Gary. It's been a nice relationship. Hate to see you go. It's been a long time. 2007 was his first year. So it's been a long road with Gary. So let's get
So wait a minute before we get into the game. Just so next year it's going to all be SEC is going to be ESPN.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. So you're going to get like what I think, and I read the statement last summer. It is there'll be the traditional 3:30, and if it's a bigger matchup, it'll go to the 7:00 game. And I think it's going to be Fowler and Herbstreit doing it.
Wonder who the 3:30 crew is going to be.
I think they might be the 3:30 or depending on what's going on. They'll play with it.
Well, what I'm saying, I guess, is who's going to be their B team.
Ooh. Oh, it'll probably be Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy. If I had a guess, that would be.
I'm all right with McElroy.
I like McElroy all right. I've always liked him. I think Tom Hart. I mean, I'm kind of biased. He was our neighbor, but I like Tom Hart and I like Cole Kublik a lot too.
Yeah, but Cole Kublik's going to be he will be an analyst. He won't be right. He's
up in the booth now. He has been the past couple of games. I think he does a pretty good job.
Maybe I haven't noticed him calling him, but anyway. All right, so back to the Georgia Tennessee.
Yeah, sorry.
It'll be a tough environment. I mean, obviously, and they'll be out for revenge for being embarrassed last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe Georgia. I mean, obviously, again, on paper, they should win this game. I think they're with all these games under their belt. I think going on the road in Auburn probably helped. Even though they haven't played on the road.
Can we talk about that for a minute, though?
What? Auburn?
Well, yeah, kind of. So the whole argument about Georgia and this being a trap for them is because the really true road game that they played was in Auburn and they struggled. But let's no team is the same team that it was in September. That was the 5th game of the year. That was the second game really where you're playing competition that's kind of on equal footing. Not really, but it's close enough.
And we'd already lost Mims by then too, right?
Yeah, we lost
Mims. Way less than Milton. What really wasn't healthy.
Yeah, there's a lot of people hurt. I understand what people are saying, and I understand that's something. But this team is a different team than it was in September. The line, I think, for the Auburn game was 14. I think whenever Georgia played them.
Sounds right.
If Georgia, and by the way, Georgia should be playing Auburn this week. Thanks, Auburn. But if we were playing Auburn this week, it would probably be a 17 to 20 point spread right now. So I just find that I find that argument kind of silly. Anyway, go ahead.
No, but I mean, regardless of all that, it is going to be it's a tough place to play. I've been to Neyland, and it's legit. And I didn't go during it was a 3:30 game, so it was loud. You couldn't hear the person next to you. So I do think it will be a tough environment. And to your point, the key for me is Georgia better be able to take Tennessee's best punch and be able to come back and score on them, because if it gets down where it's 7, 10, 14, and it's quick and the crowd gets into it and they start believing, that Georgia is going to make it monumentally tough on themselves. So let's not see what plagued us, throughout the year with a slow start. We need to come out all system firing. Hopefully the offense looks as good and in sync and in rhythm as it did last week. And for God's sake, hopefully the defense can not give up a first drive and score. But I will tell you, and watch him look like a friggin' Heisman Trophy candidate this week. But that Joe Milton, he may be able to throw it to the moon, dude. But this intermediate passing and a little bit of touch and anticipation, the guy is it seems to be lacking to me. And not only that, have you noticed, or maybe it's just me, but whenever he does run, you force him from the pocket, he carries it like a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
He puts it on the ground.
Yeah. Well, he's big and strong. That's why he can get away with it. It's against certain teams. So we'll see if that plays a factor. I think this game is kind of overhyped with it being in Neyland. Georgia has only lost 3 times in Neyland since 2000.
I know that because I read your article.
Thank you.
Dawn
of the Dog. And I know Tennessee's been down. I know they've been down. They've had a rough stretch, but I think the whole road environment, especially whenever you're playing these elite teams, I think that's kind of overblown. Alabama was not an elite team last year. That showed. I just don't, it's going to be loud. It'll be difficult. It'll be, it's a 3. That's 3 points given to Tennessee, taken away from Georgia. That's it. And if you play the way Georgia's played since Kentucky, Tennessee's not going to beat them. If Georgia shows up and plays a C game, Tennessee will make it. It'll be close, and it'll be hard for Georgia to win that. Well, it won't be hard, but Georgia will be in a dogfight. But they're going to have to play a C game, and I think Georgia, given the messaging that Kirby's been doing this week, Tuesday he was pissed at that press.
I could tell he was not.
Yeah, he was pissed, and Tate said it. He goes, "Well, fundamentally, it was good. It was fine. And it was the energy." And I think Kirby's messaging to the team like, "Hey, y'all got to get this energy up because this is Tennessee, and this is a big prep week for Tennessee or for Georgia, because Tennessee's offense is like kind of like a triple option. It's a form of it in a way. But Kirby, Schumann, Muschamp, they got this offense figured out. It's all about rhythm. It's all about timing, and they don't have a quarterback that can fucking time. So, and here's the thing: to beat Georgia, you have to run the ball on the outside. That is Georgia's Achilles heel. I thought Ole Miss was going to do it. They didn't, and they have the best running back in the SEC.
I wonder why. I mean, I'm really legitimately asking. So if you watch Missouri, they were able to do it. You watch, and I really was concerned they would copy more of Auburn's blueprint on what they did. And it has been our Achilles heel. But why wasn't Ole Miss able to exploit that where other teams were?
I think there's a couple things. I think the injuries to the offensive line definitely played a factor in it. I also think that Georgia started doing a better job at shutting it down because the first two drives they were doing really good at it, and then they couldn't do it. I mean, they tried. They absolutely tried. It just wasn't going anywhere. It was getting Nazir Stackhouse and Tramel Walthour had probably the two best games they've ever.
They were in the backfield, man.
Yeah, and guess what? That fucks up an outside zone. Now that fucks it all up. So that's what's going to happen. And Tennessee, they can't run it on the outside. 70% of their plays are inside zone. Good luck trying to run through the teeth of the Georgia defense. That's going to be really hard to do. So I mean that's going to have to completely change. And offensive defensive line, Tennessee's offensive line is not that good.
Well,
it's not. I mean, this is not.
They got a center that's got 11 fingers. He inherited an extra one from his daddy.
Yeah. So I mean, they're not good. So you know, I look. I think playing in Neyland, playing on the road, and especially in a game where Georgia could afford to lose this game, all that would really mean is that Georgia would have to be in a must-win situation against Alabama, and the streak ends, and we were one.
I don't even want to talk about that shit, man. I don't even want to. Look, you control your own destiny.
Sure, yeah, but what I'm saying to you is, I could see a situation where Georgia could lose this game because they're not up for it. I don't see that, but I mean, like, it could happen. There is a chance, a probability of it.
Well, Georgia is going to lose sooner or later. That's just
sure, one day, but not Saturday. It's just
I would be shocked. I will be shocked.
I would be absolutely stunned, aghast, whatever adjective or adverb you want to use for it. It'd be stunning.
I could definitely see a way for it to happen.
Sure. Yeah. Well, this is what would have to happen. We'd have to turn over the ball in plus territory. Our defense would have to be just giving up everything, these big chunk plays that Tennessee does. And Joe Milton's going to have to play the best game that he's ever played in his entire career. And he hasn't done it in 4 years.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to say. All those things you just said. Milton's going to have to play his best game of his life, and Georgia's going to have to turn the ball over and get down and not be able to stop Tennessee's offense. And could that happen? For sure.
Well, yeah, we play football.
I could also see a knife fight, too, where it's I could see that where Georgia gets down early and has to fight back. I could see that.
Well, look, this Tennessee team is not the best team that they've had in recent years. This was last year's team. Okay. That game against Georgia, I know it was at home, but even if it was played in Knoxville, Georgia would have gone in there and fucking kicked their ass. It wouldn't have mattered where they would have played that game. What's going on?
Sorry, my microphone hadn't been on the whole time.
Well, anyway, Georgia was a screen. Huh?
Could you see my screen?
No, I could just hear a bunch of noise. Anyway, this is bad radio. Georgia would have kicked Tennessee's ass no matter what. And Tennessee fans, if you're watching this, congrats. I'm glad you find me. I hate every single one of you. They wanted to cry about the weather and the refs, and they wanted to cry everything else. Georgia played conservatively and could have won that game. I was there. I saw it in person. I watched what happened with my own two eyes.
27-13, but it felt like
that game was like 42 to nothing.
Yeah.
They had no fucking chance in hell to do it. So, for all the Tennessee fans who sit there and they go, "Well, we have a shot. We only lost in 13." That was last year, buddy. You buckle up because you lost to Florida. You lost to not a very good Alabama team at the time.
Then you got embarrassed by Missouri.
You got embarrassed by Missouri, and you almost lost to A&M at home. And A&M fucking sucks. And then what game am I missing? Oh, well, no, they only lost 3. You're about to lose 4. So I don't care what happens. I think Georgia's going to win this game. Josh Heupel, as long as he doesn't recruit the offense and defensive line, they're never, ever, 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 ever going to beat Georgia. They never will. They haven't recruited the guys. All the guys last year, it was such a potent offense. They're all gone. They're all in the NFL. And Hendon Hooker's a much better quarterback than Joe Milton. And you're going to have a really good quarterback to beat us, and you don't. So good luck. I'm tired of all these Tennessee fans talking about how they're going to beat us.
I know maybe we haven't talked about this, but while we're on Tennessee week, and I'm 52, so I have had a long history of following Southeastern Conference football. I will tell you that Tennessee, now I hate Florida a lot worse, but Tennessee, sure, they are the most delusional. That's certainly one adjective that I would use, delusional fan base, but there's also a certain element of
unearned arrogance.
And just ignorance. They're just ignorant, but they think they know, but they don't. And they haven't been, that program hasn't been relevant to anything since the 90s, whenever they had Peyton, and then the year they had T. Martin. That program, they had about a 6-8 year really good run.
Yeah, and then before that was whenever they had General Knight and Nealon.
But so sorry to break it to you. Y'all may beat us, but that's the reason we play the game. But as far as the delusion goes, I agree with you. Who's the guy that's on that you've shown me that sits up in the stands and talks about Georgia buying players?
The rapper, who's also, by the way, he's a pedophile.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until just now, but I am not shocked.
It's like Vol Swag 24/7, something like that. I don't know, but yeah.
We're buying players and the refs and everything else, but meanwhile they're handing money out in paper bags and drive-thrus. So anyway,
they're never look. How much time we got? Okay. Yeah. Tennessee very well could walk in there and Georgia could lay an egg, and Tennessee runs off with this thing and they win and they rub it in our face. It's the likability of that's so low. I mean, and Kirby hates Tennessee, and these players hate Tennessee. By the way, they hate them, like really. They hate them. Yeah. Tate hates them. Ladd hates them.
Well, they grew up. Both of them. They grew up Tennessee fans.
Yeah. Zion Logue hates them. There's a lot of guys on this team that hate Tennessee, and Kirby hates Tennessee too. Every year we've ever played y'all up there with Kirby, we've kicked your ass. I mean, have you noticed that every time with Kirby, we kick their ass, and there's no doubt.
They came to our house and beat us too in a heartbreaker.
And that was Kirby's first year, and not a very good team. That Tennessee team was supposed to be something. They didn't do shit.
Butch.
Exactly. So, congrats. You beat us when Kirby had a down his first year, and it was not a very good team, not up to the standard. So, enjoy it. I guess relive 1998. Do whatever you got to do. Remember about the Alabama game last year where Alabama committed like 20 penalties and basically handed you all the game. That's the only joy that you'll get. I'm not really scared of Tennessee, and I don't think the Georgia players are either. So take it from there.
Well, you want to give our final predictions?
Yeah.
What did you have written down? What we predicted for Ole Miss?
Yeah. So, let's talk about this too. Tennessee on defense is like 97th in total defense, and their offense is like 50th. So, again, good luck trying to beat Georgia. Also, did you know Tennessee is only scoring on the season 8 points in the second half?
No,
Also, yeah, that's what their average is, 8 points. So,
no, I didn't know that.
yeah, and then Tennessee, like
They're only averaging 32 points a game, I think, right?
yeah, but the thing is, at home they're much better than they are on the road. But here's the thing: think about all the teams that they played at home. They played UTSA and Bible Belt College. I don't know who they played the first game, but Austin Peay was the first game. They played UConn, and they played A&M, and they played who was the other team that they played at home? There's one more.
They played South Carolina yet?
South Carolina. That was it.
Yeah.
All really barn burners. So that 14-game winning streak doesn't look too great to me. Just saying. Also, dude, they lost to Florida, and they think like they really think they have a chance.
Best game Florida's played all year, though.
I guess it was in the swamp, but still, though. I mean, good God. All right. You said, oh wow. You said 48-37 Georgia. I said 42-21. I was the closest.
Well, I was closest to Georgia point.
I was closest to Ole Miss points.
Well, we could have combined our predictions and then maybe got close.
I guess so. You want me to tell you what the computer model thinks or no?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Let's do it. By the way, I think this is kind of good because we're getting back to the mean, the average of mean. What's it called? You know it. It's like diminished averages or something.
Law of diminishing returns.
So whatever this says is usually kind of right. All right, Georgia and then Tennessee. This is really good radio. Thanks for all the people that have been watching. We're so far in views, we're beating the actual Georgia podcast. Okay, not to rub it in anyone's face. Yeah. Georgia is 33 points, and then Tennessee is 19.9. So really, you got 33-20. So there you go.
All right.
Unit versus unit. Georgia's rushing yard per carry defense versus Tennessee's offense is minus 33. So I think that means minus 33 in Tennessee's favor, which I think that's kind of inflated, but whatever. All right. So go ahead and.
Well, I'm going to say the offense overperforms based on those numbers. I'm going to say I think Georgia puts up 40 points based on where the offense it has been trending and everybody back healthy. I like Georgia's offense to put up 40. So, and I do think Tennessee is going to score. I think they may get up to 24 points. So 40-24 Georgia.
I think it's really high. Yeah, that's really high. That would hit the over for sure. I think Georgia. I think Georgia probably wins 34-17 or 42-17, 42-10, somewhere in that range. So, last week I did 42, didn't I? I'll stick with the 42 because that's been working for me lately. So I'm going to go 42-17. I just don't. Tennessee might get up to a 10-0 score, but they're not going to score anything outside of that. They could. They're just. I don't know, man. I know everyone's making a big deal of it being on the road and it being in England. I just don't think Tennessee's not good, and they're really hurt, according to Tennessee fans.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're hurt. So,
wah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I. Oh, yeah. What I put on the website the other night. Yeah.
But there was something I was gonna whatever. I can't put a finger on it. But shout out Cooper Mace. But I think that's it for us. Unless you got anything else, I just wanted to do that joke and it didn't really land. But that's
I just now it was like a hand grenade.
oh, okay.
For it to go off.
Yeah. Well, hey. So I just don't see Tennessee. I'd be flabbergasted.
I'd be shocked. Georgia's a better team. They should go up and take care of business. We got too much riding on the line. Team has gotten better. I think
we're good to look forward to. I mean, we got Tech next week. Good God, this is a glorified scrimmage. I mean, this is the last game of the year, and we can play Tech with the third strings and win.
Yeah, and I think upholding the standard. We haven't talked about this too much, but all those guys coming back on the sidelines for the Ole Miss game, talking to them about not taking this stuff for granted. I think that means something to this group of guys. And so I don't think they want to be the ones that loses a game, especially this close to sniffing, the
history.
playoffs. Yeah.
Well, we'll close it with this. I watched Tate. I bring it up every time we record, but I listened to Tate and Zion's podcast, and it was kind of telling what they said. And they're like, well, we don't care about your point spread or your parlays with Keely Ringo. We don't care. What we care about is winning and playing for a national championship. That's what we care about. So if we get out of it by 1 point, it is what it is. We move on to the next game and hope it'll be better. But as long as we keep winning, what does it matter? And I think that's what's going to happen. Georgia's the better team. I think Georgia's going to play. I think they're going to play well. I'd be shocked if they don't play well. I know Kirby bitched about practice, but when that usually happens, usually Georgia plays like their asses are on fire. So we'll see what happens. We got Dom the Dog. Whatever if you want to listen to me right, well,
I bet they don't want to do that.
They don't pay me that much money. If you want to read my writing and not listen to me talk and see my face, go check out Dom the Dog. And for your shipping needs, go to Unishippers Atlanta and check that out. All right. We will see you hopefully for the Thanksgiving. By the way, when are we going to – let's do this. If you made it this far, God bless you. I'll put this out in the front. When do you want to record? Because we got Thanksgiving on Thursday.
We'll do it Wednesday. Fuck it. We'll do it Wednesday.
All right. Well, we'll do it Wednesday against Tech. So I don't know how much we'll talk about Tech. But all right. See you guys.
I like Tech and I like them to lose. All right. See ya.
Bye.